Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Mastering Midlife, How to Thrive When the World Asks the Most of You. Today, I'm really excited. I have a new friend on the podcast, Erin Pheil. Erin is the CEO and founder of the Mind Fix Group, where they provide permanent mental roadblock removal. Let me say that again, permanent mental roadblock removal. How many of you are running around in the world trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B, and you're in your own way? Erin has figured that out for herself, and now she teaches other people. I can't wait to learn more about it. Erin, thank you for being on the program.
Thank you for having me. Super fun to be here.
So exciting. So Erin, your origin story is really fascinating. Can you take us through how you had your shift? Because you were a business owner, and then you had something happen, like we all do, that changes the trajectory of your life. Tell me about that.
Sure. So I ran a website consulting agency for 16 years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I started getting this little nagging sense that there was something else that I probably should be doing, but I had no idea what that could possibly be. And I started, reading books, and I started going to courses and getting coaching, looking for what's my unique ability and life purpose and what should I really be doing, and never really found anything. And so I just kind of kept plugging along with the agency and building it. And slowly,
and you were making money and you were successful, so it's
making money,
to do that.
Successful, growing the team, massive increases in sales year over year. Everything on the outside looked great. Growing the company, everything looked wonderful, but inside there was this constant nagging, like, I can't be doing this for the rest of my life. This is not really the path, but I didn't know what to do about it. And other than research and kind of look for someone else to tell me, in some way what I should be doing, because I had no idea. So that was kind of my life for a handful of years. And what ended up happening, like, everything changed. It was spring, it is 2015, and very long story short is I stepped off my bike while training one day, and suddenly within a week, had a twinge in my ankle, and within a week, I was one of those people who suddenly had chronic pain. And it spread through my body. None of the doctors could figure out what it was. I got passed from doctor to doctor to suddenly I'm sitting looking at somebody going, we need to get you in for back surgery. And then
so you went from invincible to a person who experiences chronic pain constantly. So
yes.
Things just like your worldview, that your experience of the universe just changed.
Everything. I went from someone I just build my business bigger and bigger each year, and I get stronger and fitter and healthier each year, and every life just gets better each year, to everything got turned upside down for me. And I spent 8 hours a day instead of working. I was 8 hours a day going to doctors. I ended up in a brain surgeon's office one day going, what the hell is happening to me? And it continued. It was Groundhog's Day for over a year and a half, 2 years of doctors going, scans show nothing, honey. You're out of luck. Try the guy next door, and just getting passed along. So obviously my mental health decreased. I did not have the resiliency or mindset to just manage this life crisis in a beautiful way. I had no idea what was going on. Became fully suicidal. Was like, what's the point of living if I can't bike, I can't have fun, I can't go out and do things, I'm not doing a job that I love, I'm not on the path that I want to be on, and I see nothing changing, and there's no hope. What is the point of any of it?
Chronic pain is such a debilitating thing, especially for someone who hasn't had to endure it. It's life-changing. My partner has been indestructible for most of his life, and just had a hip replacement. And the last 3 weeks of the whining and the complaining have been, unusual, but more so because he just never has been in this position. I've had myself banged up, so I'm kind of used to, having aches and pains and debilitating pain. but that was so new to him. So if this was going to be chronic for a long time, it would definitely take a new outlook on life in order to come out of that. So that's where you're headed here with this story.
It really was like being thrown into the like laundry and being tumbled around, and suddenly there doesn't seem like it's going to end, and you can't tell like what's up and what's down, and is there any end to it, and nothing seems to make sense, and everything that previously made sense in your life and your routines and what you thought was how things were going to be, one day it's everything is tumbled around, and you're completely, it's confusing and disorienting and terrifying.
And you're young. How old were you when this happened?
I would have been 37.
So so you're young, because I talk all the time. Midlife doesn't have to be a certain age. Midlife is when life is going along a certain way and something tells you something has to change. And sometimes life smacks you down and says, really, no, really, I mean it. Something has to change, which is what you're describing.
Yep. And that was, it was so tough because people are like, you need to listen to your body. Your body's trying to tell you something. And I was like, I can't hear it. I don't know what it's saying, but I wanted to shut the hell up. Like, I don't care. It's trying to give you a message. You need to slow down or change direction somewhere. But I was so scared because I was like, I don't know what else I could possibly give to the world or what direction I could move in. What am I going to do? So interestingly enough, after I went to so many therapists and counselors to try and help me get out of this horrific, deep, dark, like, what's the point mindset, just like with the physical doctors, nobody could make a dent. Like, there was just, everybody gave me these platitudes and get through each day, but my Groundhog's Day kept continuing. And nothing was working again for my mental health. And one day what happened is I was talking to a particular therapist, and she looked at me and she goes, you know that it's not the pain that's making you miserable. And I looked at her and was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Yes, it is. And she said, there's some deeper stuff here. She goes, you are miserable because you can't achieve anything, and your entire sense of self-worth is completely tied to what you achieve. And right now with this pain, you can't achieve, you can't win races, you can't build your business, you can't hit milestones, you can't grow anything, you can't hit and check off boxes and achieve because you're going to doctors all day. And that is what's making you miserable, is you feel like there's nothing left for you. There's no sense of self, there's no meaning for you when you're not out there achieving. And that was the most interesting thing that took me from everything is bad and my body hurts to maybe there's actually something over here, like a root cause that's causing me.
Hold on, before you go all intellectual,
Yeah.
How was it to have someone actually peg that for you?
Fascinating. It was just like, absolutely, head exploded. And in fact, I stopped and I started clapping. I was like, oh, this is good. You're onto something. How do we, like, and I went straight into entrepreneur mode. How do we fix it then?
Right.
What do we do? And her answer is what changed everything for me. Her answer was, well, it's going to, take maybe a year, a couple of years of exploration and journey down the path and love. And we're just going to, increase your visits. And I was sitting there going, no, I'm going to figure this out. If there's actually something that's causing me to think in a certain way and to have all these emotions beyond just, the event, if other people could have the same event and experience different things, I'll be able to figure it out. And so I kind of left that day and was like, thank you, but I'm going to figure out the rest. And that's what set me on my journey to figure out how to address these issues, find root causes, and that's what led me to my company today. So if I hadn't had the crisis, I wouldn't have what I have today, which is the most fulfilling business that I've could ever dream of. And I still can't believe like how it all ended up. I couldn't have planned it in a million years.
So what did you do for yourself?
I basically went on a journey of like a year and a half and tried everything. I became my own science experiment, and I tried everything from by the book, kind of boring cognitive behavioral therapy to the most woo-woo, out there, color crystal aura stuff and everything in between, and took notes of like, this is a piece of the equation, but it needs to be mixed with something else, and kind of did this brute force attack and mixed and matched different things till I found what I feel like is as close to as a magic formula as you can get for addressing like these root causes of where we get stuck.
Mm. So now let's fast forward it to what you do for a living now. What do you do?
So at the Mind Fix Group, we specialize in helping high performers and entrepreneurs eliminate the biggest mental roadblocks that are keeping them from being able to achieve what they know they're capable of and make the money that they know they can make. Sometimes we run into these invisible walls and we get stuck. We don't know why. And our team, it's a team of experts that can figure out the why and then rapidly get rid of the why and then send people on their way so they can be their awesome selves.
Outstanding. So that was your advertisement. The links to your videos and your website are going to be in the show notes so people can find you. Now, the reason that we wanted to have this conversation, so you and I were in an animated conversation before we turned on record, because we know we can go down a myriad of roads because we're kindred spirits. You're a little bit science, I'm a little bit off the deep end, and we meet somewhere in the middle, but we're both after the same thing. And you really tapped into the conversation of we're going along at a certain speed in a certain direction, with certain things that we know, and something's got to change and we hit something, right? And you said you wanted to talk about that for midlife.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am fascinated by the world of high achievers and entrepreneurs and high performers because oftentimes they have so much tenacity and so much drive and so much ability to power through things and brute force and do things the hard way and push. And when it comes to midlife, sometimes it's like those things work until they don't. And sometimes that pushing through and just like, I'm going to get to the other side of this brick wall, it just doesn't work. And what I find fascinating is I watched it happen with myself. We'll just keep pushing to the point where we actually cause harm to our bodies or our souls and our minds and our relationships, when sometimes a simple change in how we're looking at our problems can make all the difference and suddenly open up other paths.
So what you said earlier before we were recording was that what we do is we go back into our file cabinets of what we know, and we reread books, and we revisit the workshops that we did. So elaborate there.
So one of the things that works oftentimes is we go through our lives, we run into a problem. What do? We gather more information. We'll go and read books. We'll go to seminars. We'll go sign up for trainings or classes. And in addition to gathering more information, a lot of people will go and try to get guidance. So they'll work with a coach or they'll work with a mentor. They'll go to a mastermind group or talk to colleagues. Essentially, gathering information and then trying to tackle the challenge in a different way, right? Here's a new way I'm going to approach it. Here's a new tool I used. Here's a different path I can try. And that is kind of how we go through life. And it works most of the time. What happened to me and what I see happening to other people is that when that stops working and the books just aren't helping and the coaches don't seem to know what to tell you, or you can't do what the coaches are saying, and you go to the conferences and it's just like you're not implementing or you're avoiding things, and it's just none of that information gathering is working. A lot of times that's because you don't need another tool or a technique or a tactic. Oftentimes when the information is not working, you need to look inside and figure out what's going on and how you're getting in your own way that's causing the block. So the block is internal instead of something external that needs to be fixed with another tool.
You give me goosebumps when you talk like that, because I'm doing air quotes. I'm a coach, but I've gotten so away from the prescriptions, all the good books with all the processes and all that stuff. And I do give people exercises and things to do, but it's all to slow down and learn about themselves. My book, Only Tens, is not a time management book. It's a book that says, I have spent thousands of dollars learning to manage my time. I have perfectly labeled folders. I have separated my big rocks into my small rocks. The problem isn't my systems. The problem is me, and I've been lying to myself, and I'm not going to do anything because I only do what I want to do and I don't do what I don't want to do. And the problem is I lie to myself, right? Now, whether it's something subconscious or internal that's keeping me, it's still doing what it wants to do, no matter what I say, right? So you're talking about that in all areas. There's a block. There's something inside that's telling you, forget all what those workshops say. We're still going in this direction. And what you're saying is we have to slow down and ferret that out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, what we've found is that when people are stuck, it's because they're saying they want to do something or they want to experience something, and a large portion of them is going, no, you don't, right? For some other reason. And they're not really in touch, and there's friction there. There's some form of self-sabotage going on where your conscious mind says, this is my goal, and another part of you is running the other way.
It's committed to say, it's a competing commitment that's committed to something else, solving a problem that happened at 6 years old that is no longer relevant at 40, but it's still solving the 6-year-old problem.
Exactly.
So what's the answer?
Well, there's no one answer for every single person, right? Like that.
Oh, come on. I want the 3 steps.
But I can share a different way to think about it. So here's the thing. I'm going to describe, I'm going to tell all of this in terms of a story, or break this down to a really simple story to illustrate what I'm trying to share here. So, okay, the problems that we're talking about are breakdowns and getting fired and things happening with family, big, complex, serious things. For the sake of this story, let's pretend you had one simple problem and you couldn't figure out how to fix it. And it was a problem of you are terrified of puppies, okay? And let's say that you're realizing that you can't really keep dealing with this problem because you just moved to a neighborhood where there's tons of families and everybody has a dog, and you're finding it difficult to go out during normal hours. You have to sneak out at midnight because you're terrified to see any dogs, and you're like, I got to get rid of this problem, right? So what are you going to do? Typically you're going to go read a book. How do I get over a phobia? I'm going to learn about dogs. You're going to talk with your friends. Susie, I'm so scared of dogs. No, dogs are great. And they're going to try and convince you of something else. You might go and
I go to a hypnotist.
You might go to a hypnotist and see if that works. For some people it works, right? But you're going to go and try and collect information, and you're going to try and learn about it and talk yourself out of it in some way because you're like, I can't have this problem anymore. The thing is, you don't randomly have this problem for no reason. It didn't just poof, show up. You don't have thoughts of I'm in danger and emotions of fear and anxiety for no reason. Your actions and your fears and your thoughts, they're all there because, and here's the crux, some part of you believes that dogs are dangerous. Period. There is a belief that you are holding on to that dogs are dangerous. Don't know where you picked it up, when you picked it up, but that belief determines when you see a dog, how you see the situation. It determines the thoughts that you have. Oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. Determines the emotions you have, fear and anxiety, and it determines your actions. I'm going to run or scream. So instead of trying to change your thoughts, instead of trying to brute force it and walk past the dogs and you're going to change your actions and you're just going to shove down the fear and you're going to change, I'm just going to walk by the dog, instead of changing your actions or your thoughts, when you change the belief, when you change things at the root level, everything else down the line changes instantly and effortlessly any without any stress or strain or resistance. So if someone came along, maybe a hypnotist can do it. I'm not super familiar with hypnotism, but let's say somebody came along with a magic wand and bopped you over the head, and the next morning you woke up and that belief, dogs are dangerous, was completely gone, as if it had never occurred to you in your life. Guess what? The next time you see a dog, the whole event is going to be a different experience. You're not going to have thoughts of, I need to get the hell out of here, because it wouldn't occur to you, right? You're not going to have emotions of fear and anxiety, and you're not going to take actions of running the other way. Everything filters down the process with ease when you work at what's going on at the root. And the beliefs that we hold on to are what determine our thoughts and our emotions and the actions we take. So when we're stuck, a lot of times we try to change our actions when we're not looking at the roots and what we believe to be true. So does that story make sense about how what we believe?
That's a perfect story, especially since I was a dog person my whole entire life. I was bit by a dog 3 times, and for years I just didn't like dogs anymore, and I didn't know, like it just was gone. And now I'm a complete dog person again, because the same kind of dog who bit me is now my dog, right? So it's completely healed that, but I couldn't force that away. So
Yeah.
let me turn this on you a little, if you're willing. So you found out that one of your challenges was that you got your self-esteem, you got your worth, your whole life force from achieving.
Yes.
How
Pointed out to me.
right? So now what changed? What belief did you change, and what did you change that belief to?
So what I found out, a few things. The wording of the actual belief, there are different types of beliefs, and this one is a particularly sticky type of belief called a survival strategy belief. So the belief itself was, what makes me important and worthy is achieving. So in order to have that belief, you have to first have the beliefs, I'm not important, I'm not worthy. And these beliefs that we're talking about, intellectually, we don't believe them, right? If somebody said, you're not worthy, I'd be like, oh yeah, let me tell you all the reasons why I'm worthy. And I'd argue with them. But this is like a small 5%, in the back of our brain that questions these things, that's left over. And it's like a piece of sand in an oyster, and it just creates this irritation. And it's like, it leaves something there. And so the belief that I had was, what makes me important and worthy is achieving. So I had the beliefs, I'm not important and I'm not worthy. So what happened is I found that beliefs, just like the belief in Santa Claus, when you go through a certain process, can be eliminated permanently. Like one day when you're a kid, you believe in Santa Claus and you're leaving cookies and milk out. And then fast forward to another week, and holy crap, it's been explained to you that Santa's not real. You don't leave the cookies and milk out anymore, and you never go back to believing in Santa the rest of your life, right? So I was able to eliminate those beliefs. And what was really fascinating is I found that you don't have to replace beliefs that are causing you problems. You don't have to try and force yourself to believe that you are amazing, you are incredible, you are so important. But when you get rid of these negative limiting beliefs, it creates possibility. Instead of like, this is the way to think about yourself. Suddenly it was like, I can achieve and enjoy it, but it's not related to my worth. I'm important to a lot of people, but maybe not to some people. And it created this space of flexibility for me to just go through life and see different situations and myself and different people in different ways. Instead of having a rigid, structured rule of, this is how I am, and this is what makes me worthwhile. So I learned that you can eliminate beliefs and you don't have to replace them.
How's your pain?
I have maybe 2% left and figured out what it is, and I'm on a treatment plan to fix the last tiny little issue. It's not holding me back at all, though.
Nice. So it didn't handle your pain. It handled everything. It helped you find the healing, but it also it made the rest of your life bigger, where the pain was the biggest part of your life. Now that was right sized, and now you can enjoy the rest of life.
And also, though, once I got rid of a lot of the toxic stuff and the reasons why I was getting stuck in these loops and how I was thinking about myself and how I was thinking about my worth, shockingly enough, in the months ahead, my pain slowly, deteriorated after I started taking care of this. I had spent the past 2 years running to doctors and getting x-rays and MRIs thinking it's got to be in my body. And it wasn't until I got so low that I was forced to start looking at what was going on up here. Shockingly enough, that was when a lot of my pain each month, I'd be like, it's a little bit less than it was. It's actually not going up anymore. And things turned around.
So it's a both end kind of thing. Deal with the physical, but deal with your mental and emotional, and somewhere in the middle, you start to hopefully head in the right direction. So how would you like to summarize our conversation and leave people with a little nugget from this? Because I'll tell you, I think you revealed some really deep, not so secrets, of how the human mind works. And if people actually listened to this and actually pondered what you had to say, there's such a roadmap there. That I think it's all contained in itself, but I'd love for you to wrap it up for me.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, what I want people to be able to take away is the concept that we get stuck and act in ways that don't serve us. We get stuck in patterns because of what we believe to be true. Some part of us believes something, which impacts our thoughts, which impacts our emotions, which determines our behaviors. And so the $1,000,000 question, like the question that me and my team are looking to answer for our clients throughout their experience with us, but something that people can start thinking on their own right away, every day when they're stuck, is this. This is the $1,000,000 question. And it is, okay, I'm stuck. I'm repeating this. I keep doing this. What would I have to believe to be true in order to keep acting in this way? And when you ask yourself that question, you suddenly see your challenge in a different light, and it reflects everything back to you and makes you it creates a space for introspection about how you may actually be causing the repetition and the pattern versus something on the outside making life hell for you. Because we show up and we perceive our lives and our interactions and what's happening to us in certain ways because of the lenses that we have that are all based on what we believe to be true. So when we ask ourselves, what would I have to believe to be true in order to keep acting this way? We can get insights that some people go to, therapy or meditate, and it takes them years to come up with this realization. And that's a beautiful, beautiful shortcut.
Wow. Thank you so much. So if people want to learn, if people become fanboys and fangirls of you like I have, where can they find you?
Mindfixgroup.com is where you can find out all about our work. You can see our results. There's a free training on the site that kind of goes way in more depth with the dog.
And I have to say the free training is outstanding. I worked the process in your free training on a challenge I was dealing with, and I just worked it straightforward from what you were doing, and I actually got a life-changing little nugget from that.
Fantastic.
So I really recommend that people do that. I'll put those in the show notes.
Fantastic. The other places I hang out online, I'm pretty active on both Facebook and LinkedIn, and I'm the only Erin Pheil in the world on both of those platforms. So you just pop my name in, and it's pretty easy to get a hold of me.
Yeah, if you want really good reading or really good videos, follow Erin on Facebook and LinkedIn, and you will get nuggets that are so deep and so brilliant that it'll make being on social media actually worthwhile.
Thank you.
So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
To everybody else, thank you for listening. I really appreciate your participation in this endeavor of mine. I love you and have a great rest of the day.